With more than 100 years of experience, Mitas is one of Europe's leading motorcycle tyre brands. Whether you ride on the trails, enduro, on the road or on adventures, Mitas have the tyres for you. If they're good enough for the likes of Chris Birch and Paul Tarris, they're good enough for me and our Noel. For more information, go to mitas-moto.com. Go the distance with Mitas tyres.
Hello and welcome to the Trail and Adventure Motorbike Podcast with me, Clive Barber, and my good mate, Noel Tom. For the days when you can't ride your bike, there's always the Trail and Adventure Motorbike Podcast.
All right, gang, back again. I just wanted to say a few thank yous before we get into today's episode with the one and only Dougie Lampkin. This interview came about from being invited to an event at Ambleside Rugby Club from the legendary director of rugby there, Mr. Andy Brown. Thanks, Brownie. Ambleside Rugby were hosting an event for Greggs Foundation, their charitable foundation. We're joined on the podcast by Richard, who is one of the directors at Greggs, and he explains a little bit more about what the foundation is all about. So this event was organised to celebrate the people that work and support the charitable foundation. And one of those supporters is Red Bull. And Red Bull sent along Dougie Lampkin, who has been a Red Bull ambassador for many years. As you can imagine, this was a massive treat for me. It's not often you get to talk to 12-time world champions. Dougie is an absolutely lovely bloke. He was really easy to talk to and a very entertaining company. And a damn fine ambassador for Red Bull. Right, let's get on with it. How do we start this one? We're at Ambleside Rugby Club, of all places, which is kind of bizarre, but you're here to take part in a charity event for Red Bull and the Greggs Charitable Foundation.
Yeah, that's right. I've done quite a lot of stuff with Red Bull over the years and everything, and Greggs were at Silverstone for a Formula One hospitality that Red Bull had, and yeah, we were doing some riding round, and then got invited here through Red Bull. So yeah, no, it's nice. Obviously, putting a nice job on for tonight. It's going to rain, which is terrific news.
What could possibly go wrong on those 6-foot high boxes that you're going to jump over?
And I'm holding onto the table as we speak. Touch wood.
Before we go any further, I've asked Richard, one of the directors from Greggs, to tell us a little bit more about their charity, the Greggs Foundation.
It's actually called Greggs Foundation these days. It was the Greggs Charitable Trust, supported by the company, but also by lots and lots of different partners who've helped us to basically address food inequality in the UK, and particularly focused on kids in primary schools to make sure that kids who turn up in the morning without having eaten get a fair chance. So we've got 1,000 breakfast clubs across the country, and we work in communities as well to, I suppose, create a level playing field and help people who are at a disadvantage to have a better chance in life. So we're here in Ambleside at the rugby club tonight. We had a really fun day, and we're hoping for a fun evening with all the partners and people who've supported the charity over the past year to celebrate what we've done, and also to raise some money so that we can keep on helping kids to have a better chance in life.
Thank you very much to Richard, and thank you very much to Greggs. It ain't just about the sausage rolls. Right, let's get back to the podcast.
So if you haven't recognised the voice yet, this is Dougie Lampkin, all the way from Skipton.
Yes, not too far away.
Made famous from his days in Kickstart. Have you done any trials riding since then?
I've done a little bit, that is for sure, yeah.
You're probably too modest to talk about your numbers of world championships.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, not too much. It's amazing, really. The dream is to be a world champion, and I got 7 outdoor, 5 indoor, 2 or 3 Spanish championships. Can't remember. I think it's 2.
14 Scottish 6 days?
Yes. I thought it was 13, but it is 14, yes. A few British championships, European championship, MBE in 2000, which is what my parents were as proud as anything about. Recognition for your sport is, something amazing. And trials isn't the biggest sport, so yeah, something that you're never going to use it, really. but it's just certainly nice to have in your pocket.
Does seem to be growing. I mean, everybody I ride with around here seems to have a trials bike in the garage. Wheel it out every now and again.
Yeah, it's an amazing sport. I think it's just one of those sports where you watch it, you go, wow, that's a spectacle. That's amazing. You don't say, I can do that. I'm going to go and get a bike next week. It is a very difficult sport, like golf is and several other ones. You know, it just changes. You ride great one day and awful the next, and there's no explanation for it. But some people love that and a lot of people don't.
You say ride great one day. I've not quite managed that yet. You make it look easy. That's the problem. Like good trials riders make it look easy, and you just think, oh, get one of them. I'll have a go at that. And then you actually realise how fucking difficult it is. Obviously, you're from the Lampkin. Do we call it a dynasty yet?
It's been called a lot worse. So, yeah, if we stick with dynasty, that's quite nice. But, yeah, we've had a bit of all sorts.
Was there ever a time when you weren't riding, when you were a kid?
Not really, no. We've always rode. Pretty much all the family have always rode in the early days. Some carried on. You know, obviously most didn't. Boys and girls, that's sort of how it's been. I did play a lot of golf when I was younger. I never really took it very seriously until sort of my teens. I was too busy messing about on a push bike and messing at school and things like that. And I always had bikes. Started riding in the Youth British Championship, which wasn't with any real success. I was quite a nervous rider back in the day. Didn't really do anything until I sort of left the junior scene and then progressed really quickly from there.
I spoke to our mutual friend Stuart Day earlier, and he said there is a rumour that your dad got you out working on some tools for a couple of weeks, and you went, yeah, I don't like this. Let's go back to taking trials a bit more seriously.
Yeah, it was strange really, because my parents had a pub back in the day, and then my dad was doing a bit of car dealing and sort of enjoying that. And then I'm not sure how it came about really. He owned a newsagents, and myself and my brother Harry were busy doing the paper rounds when people were missing and things like that. And then one day a chap who used to always come in for his newspaper, he worked on the Knaresborough bypass and he had lads working for him, and he was complaining that his lads hadn't turned in or something like that. And the next minute I was stood outside the shop with my pack up, and I was going to work on Knaresborough bypass at 6:15 in the morning. As my family put it, this is learning the value of £1. Yeah, I was on £3 an hour. I earned £2,300 over about 9 months, something like that. Working on the roads is where it started. It was bloody hard work. I was absolutely shot at the end of the day, and it was a 7x7 job. I just remember one of the old boys that had worked on that sort of a job all his life, Shirt and a Tie Man, Jimmy were called, and he went, I've heard you're pretty good on that motorbike, and I'm telling you, make sure you get a lot better on that motorbike so you don't have to do what I've had to do all my life. And I never thought about it much when you're a kid, do you? But I do quite often think about that chap and, you know, that little bit of advice that I didn't really think a lot of at the time. I don't think it made me try harder or work harder. It just, that bit was sort of coming anyway. It's difficult to follow how good everybody else is without, you know, there wasn't websites and YouTube and things like that. So you never really knew how good you were until you got to the events. And I wasn't old enough from sort of leaving school until I was 18 to get a licence. So that's when it was like, right, well, you're having 12 months of work or 9 months of work, whatever it was. Did a bit of double glazing. I did a fair bit of roofing, and I worked on a bypass. And not right keen on going back to any of them.
Your dad was around long enough. Obviously, he sadly died of cancer at 65, didn't he? Yeah. But he was around to see your success, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, he passed in 2016. So obviously, he came to all the World Championship with me. He'd been there and done it all right in a different era where things were possibly done a bit different. And yeah, we had a lot more sort of opportunities with the bike and things like that, and gym and things like that, and all sorts of stuff, whereas my dad was just like, you ride your motorbike at the weekend and then you do a bit of practice and you go again. But yeah, no, I obviously learned a lot from him that way about the events side and everything, and yeah, he came everywhere with me.
He was your minder for the whole of your career, wasn't he?
Pretty much all my career, and then in the last few years my cousin James took over. But yeah, my dad was always there. I stopped doing the championship in about, I'm going to say 2010.
You've obviously got your two sons, Alfie and Fraser, are both riding bikes now. Not necessarily trials bikes, but next generation.
We've got quite a lot of the family are riding. Everybody's riding for fun, and that's what was, my boys were the same, you know. And then COVID came along, we were stuck at home, and before that they were doing running and a bit of tennis, and it was easy. There was no washing bikes, no fixing things. And then during COVID they were riding a lot on our land at home. The younger one, Fraser, decided that he wanted to go fast, so he's the enduro man. He's doing really well. He finished second in the World Indoor Championship last winter. He's moving up a class, which is yeah, potentially a bit early. He's got a big step that he's taken. He's done a couple of the World Championship Enduro rounds this year. He crashed in the first one, which was a shame because he hurt himself. Just last weekend, he was in Italy and had 2 9ths in the youth class, which was incredible. Massive step. And yeah, Alfie's in the trials. He's definitely not made for going fast. He's a trialsman like myself. Looks quite odd on an enduro bike, much like myself as well. So he competes in Trial 2 World Championship, which is the second class. Has done for the last 2 years. And yeah, he's absolutely living the dream. Puts an absolute amazing amount of effort in and everything. And he's just pushing himself all the time. And, his results will come for sure.
I saw a video you did a few years ago when he was about 16 and you said trials riding just about having fun. You didn't seem to be pushing him in that direction.
No, not at all, really. I think we've all seen it, in various sports where the parents are sort of more keen on it than the kids are and stuff like that. And I was never like that whatsoever. When I was growing up and fairly keen to sort of install that, Alfie sometimes says you should have got me going a bit earlier, but he wasn't interested a bit earlier. And to be fair, I was still away a lot and sort of COVID turned all that round for all of us. And we're all just enjoying the bikes and enjoying the travelling and the championships.
I've got 3 boys. The thought of trying to push them into something, I mean, they all moan at me now because I've not bought them motorbikes, kind of deliberately, but also financially it would have been problematic. But all the things I enjoy, they're kind of gravitating towards anyway, I think.
Yeah, I think it was sort of a natural progression, really, looking back on it, but maybe not at the level and the effort that they're putting in now.
Did your dad ever think that you would be a world champion back in the early days?
Certainly not at the beginning. I mean, we went to the European Championship in '93 and we were just going to see where the level was, really, and I was 6. And then we went to the next one and I won, which was a little bit of a surprise, to be fair, and then ended up winning the championship. It went down to the wire between 3 of us in the last round, and they buckled a bit with the pressure and I sort of excelled from it, and that was like a turning point, really. I got a little bit of help from the Beta Factory for the following year and managed to finish 6th in the World Championship, and that was it. Then we were rolling.
And you were quite young. You were only about 21 at that point, weren't you?
Yeah, I was 21 when I won the European back in '97, yeah.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Today's exciting episode is brought to you by Adventure Specs Super Shirt 2.0.
2.0?
Yep, it's a new version. It's got the Flow Armour, which is a lot more breathable, and yet it's still CE AA rated. So it gives you both impact protection and abrasion resistance.
It's an absolute game changer.
It is, actually, because you completely forget you've got it on. The armour's really soft. I even find myself checking to see if I've actually remembered to put it on sometimes.
It still feels wrong, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But it's the first thing I put on for all motorcycling activities, basically. I even wore it and you mocked me when we were doing some trials practice.
Thank God you were wearing it that day, because I don't think you'd be with us today if you hadn't been wearing it when you got on the trials bike.
It wasn't that bad. It's even been crash tested on an actual human, which I don't think any other garment has ever been tested that way.
They threw a man down a runway wearing one, didn't they?
It's actually quite scary to watch, but he came away unscathed, which is pretty good news.
What do you wear over the top of yours?
Well, I'm a bit of a hipster, so it's usually a check shirt and a very long beard.
Just something to hide the coffee stains?
Yes, the very rare blend espressos that I normally drink.
Nice.
So there are sizes for all from small to, I think, triple XL. It's quite stretchy as well, so it'll fit women and it fits fatties like me too. To get your super shirt, head to adventurespec.com. Right, nobody likes talking about crashing, but if you ride, especially off the beaten path, it's something we all have to think about. As adventure riders, we often find ourselves in remote areas, sometimes with no traffic for miles. And even if you're riding with mates, if you go down in a ditch or behind a rock face, it might take a while before they realise or even find you. And those minutes, they can be life critical. That's where Real Rider comes in. It's the only government-certified automatic crash detection app for motorcyclists with a direct ambulance service connection. If you crash and can't respond, it sends your exact location with medical info straight to emergency services. So help is on the way fast. And yet, we all drop our bikes from time to time. Real Rider knows the difference. With smart features that filter out false alarms, way more reliable than your smartwatch SOS. That's why it's trusted with a direct connection to ambulance services. It works across the UK, Europe, North America, Australia and New Zealand. And beyond crash detection, you also get group ride features, route recording, and most of all, peace of mind. No tracking your speed, no data to insurers, just safety, not snitching. Real Rider Premium for less than the price of a coffee per month. Download it now, ride protected, explore further.
You mentioned pressure. You obviously handle pressure pretty well. What other skills do you think that the Lampkin family have that other people might not have?
I don't know really. Obviously, there's something in the blood. There's something in the water in Silverstone. We've heard everything really. I mean, that Silverstone tap water must be worth a fortune because we've got World Championship stock car drivers, World Championship karate, World Championship motorcycle trials. Yeah, we've got quite a few, to be honest. There might be some others as well that I've forgotten, but there is certainly a lot of help from your family and everything. But a trial sort of is one of those sports where you only really get something out of it when you put it in. It's sort of the effort equals reward thing, as I call it. It's only you holding the handlebars at the end of the day. You've got to make it work for yourself. When I was younger, I suffered massively from nerves and somehow managed to turn that round into a positive thing, really. I've always been one of those that in the morning I'm like ready to get going and get started, let's get at it. Whereas a lot of people are very nervous and sort of problems with that part until they get going. And I was the opposite, but you can't really put your finger on it. I think at the end of the day, I couldn't really have trained anymore in the early days. I think I did more time on the bike than anybody else. I think I put more into my training than anybody else, and I succeeded more than the others as well.
How did you train when you were still an active competitor?
In the beginning, I was always going to the gym in the morning and riding the bike, and I rode every day. And that was right through to my Honda days, sort of in the early 2000s when I moved to Honda and stayed there for 6 years. I just rode and rode and rode. And then finally they stopped them riding on Monday because, they need to be able to do the bikes and things like that. And I was still pushing to ride something else. I wasn't bothered. That's what I did, and that's how it was. And that was my sort of plan. I know now there's all sorts of different things that you need to rest and you need this and you need that. But back then, that sort of data wasn't available like it is now. My theory was push harder, train more, do more, and just make sure we're doing more than the others.
Have you always enjoyed the trials? Did you ever get to a point where you just thought, I've had enough of this? Or
no, I always loved it. And that's the problem. Like now, I don't ride much at all. And I'm riding tonight. I haven't ridden, apart from following Alfie around for a long time. I get more enjoyment riding sort of with the boys now and messing about a little bit and playing about a bit. I was getting to the stage in my career where I didn't want to go out riding on a Monday and Tuesday and wasn't really putting the sort of timing that you needed to do. I mean, to be honest, riding the competitions, that can carry on for ages, but competitions is the easy bit. You do 2 laps of 12 sections at a World Championship, 2 laps, 15 sections, but you ride for 5 or 6 hours when you go practicing. There's such a massive difference. I just got to do a bit tired of it, really.
But you're enjoying the time with Alfie. It's a shit analogy, but I remember when I used to go to a fairground as a kid, I would absolutely love fairgrounds. I used to take my boys, they're all too old for that now, but I remember watching them was actually more fun than me doing it.
That's exactly it. I get a lot of enjoyment watching them and seeing the effort that they're putting in. Obviously, they always want to do better and better. That's only natural. It's impossible for everybody to win everything. That's just how the world is. But also, I enjoy being in the paddock. Still a lot of the same people. The trials paddock, and now I'm new into the new enduro paddock with Fraser. But yeah, it's just a nice atmosphere. Everybody's in a way wanting to help each other, obviously to a certain level. But it is a nice place to be.
Obviously, you've transitioned now from being a professional competitor. You're a promoter. You're a minder for Alfie. How did that transition work?
That was quite easy, really. I enjoy doing the minding. I think that, I have to be careful because I always spent all that time having everything to be absolutely perfect. And really now I just want him to sort of enjoy it. But that's difficult when you're putting so much effort in. He does get nervous as Alfie, there's no question about it. And a lot of the times in the World Championship, isn't really riding to his full potential for one reason or another. But that's something you have to work through yourself. I can obviously try and help that, but I was the sort of polar opposite to that, whereas that nervous bit I turned into a positive moment. But, that's a difference between a lot of riders and a lot of other sports as well. Yeah, the transition was fairly easy. That was good. Obviously, my father was a promoter together with his business partner, Neil, back in the day. I always did a Sheffield indoor trial for years and years. and sadly both passed away. And then I picked up on that with my manager and run an indoor trial for 3 years. And we're going to run now at Leeds Arena, which starts on the 24th of January, which is going to be World Championship indoor. And then we've secured the next 2 years for World Outdoor Trials Championship at Anglesey, which is
24th to the 26th. And that's quite exciting because it's the return of Trial GP to Britain for the first time in...
We've actually just had one this year, which was a good event. We've got a lot of good British riders, and we do need to have rounds. It's very difficult to get organised. Everybody thinks that you're going to earn a fortune and all that, but actually it's one of them labours of love, unfortunately. But we love it. We've done the indoors, and then we need an outdoor in the UK, and so we're going to have a go at it for a couple of years and then hand the baton over to somebody else.
When you stopped trials riding, I know you did enduro for a bit and obviously didn't get on with that. Do you ride any other bikes these days?
Yeah, I did enduro for a little bit afterwards. That was really coming from a Red Bull side. There was extreme enduro, and hard enduro was just sort of coming out at that time, and it was for sort of enduro riders that weren't fast enough, or trials riders that were a bit over the top, or a bit finished, or not just too good.
Are you picking on Graham?
No, we were both in the same boat, to be fair. He applied himself and got up to speed, and he's still doing very well, which is absolutely unbelievable. But we sort of started it when it was not really a full-on professional sport, and it quickly turned into that, and I wasn't wanting to be part of that, or maybe couldn't be part of that. I had some great results. I won Lagares, I was 2nd, 3rd and 4th at Erzberg, various bits like that, but it was never really my bag, whereas Graham sort of reinvented himself there, as several other riders did, and now the sport's growing and growing.
Some of those events, you just think, why would you want to do that? It's too hard.
I've pushed my bike around Erzberg a few times, and you do question yourself.
So you've been a Red Bull rider for probably longer than any other sponsored Red Bull athlete, haven't you?
Yeah, I am in the UK by a fair bit. I started in April 2000, so I'm in my 26th year. It's been more than a sponsor, really. It's been part of the Red Bull family. It brings a lot of opportunities. And when my career was sort of dwindling in the trials, other opportunities were coming through Red Bull, doing events and demos and enduro. That's how that started, and still is doing now. Riding in new places. I mean, this is the first time I've ridden at Ambleside Rugby Club, isn't it?
First time anybody.
There you are, you see. It's a world first. No seriousness, it's them opportunities have come. I've ridden in the snow and ice in Finland. I've been to India several times. Maldives, Sri Lanka, it just keeps going. America, Japan, you just on Saudi, Dubai. It just goes on and on and on. And very, very lucky to be a part of that. And also still very lucky to be here, sort of living the dream, wrecking for another project for another rider this morning, which might come about locally. Yeah, been part of such an amazing corporation.
You've got to do some fairly mad stunts as well with them, haven't you? Like the Isle of Man TT. Tell us a little bit about that.
You always have opportunities with Red Bull to sort of do things that you've always wanted to do, or various bits. Yeah, I was thinking about what would you do on bikes, and everybody, whether you're on a push bike or a motorbike, either wanted to jump it or wheelie, so it grew quite a lot. It was only going to be messing about at Cadwell Park for a bit, and then in the end I'm live round the TT course 1 hour 36 minutes later.
TT course, if people don't know, is 37.7 miles, and I was thinking before I came to chat to you, is that some kind of world record?
No. They've done hundreds of miles in Japan. They go around the oval. They look like a sofa, what they're riding. But what is the record?
There's lots of different records for wheeling, no hands wheelies. But the longest one I could find was, as you say, a Japanese guy, Masaru Abe, who wheelied for 310 miles.
Fair play. I can't imagine what he was on or what he was doing.
He was on a scooter.
Was he?
So it doesn't count. It's not a motorbike.
Well, I don't know. I'm going to give him it, I think.
If you say so.
A scooter for 310 miles. Fair play.
Yeah, fuck that.
I'm going to search that up and have a look at that.
I've got another question from Stu that I've got to ask you.
I've got a funny story about Stu as he starts to give me a bit of a dig. So he rode the Scottish 6 Days this year. He arrived with his friend Danny Butler, and they were doing some filming for their channel. And he arrived at the second group of sections with the big reveal as, here we are, we're just about to start the Scottish 6 Days. Here's Dougie Lampkin just getting ready to look at the section. We're at section 1. And I went, no, you're not at section 1. You missed the first group. It's about 5 miles back down that track. And they thought I was joking for a split second. And I went, I'm not joking.
Oh, shit.
And they have to turn around and go back. So their start to the Scottish is they rode straight past the first group, and did we give him some grief for it?
He did actually say that he'd followed you on this year's 6th day, but he didn't tell me that bit, funny enough. Kept that one quiet, Stu.
No, funnily enough, and not so that, I tell you what, it was a broken man at end of week. It was a long week. On Saturday, we're broken.
He's getting on a bit.
His other question was, do you think you would have won more world championships if you hadn't ended up on the... And you don't have to answer this if you don't.
I know what's coming. I've had this question quite a few times, and I answer it. I answer it now. I would have never done at the time.
Would you have won more world championships if you weren't developing the four-stroke for Honda?
It's a very, very good question. There's a few different answers to this, just to dodge it a little bit, but I do get to the point. To ride for Honda is the best thing that can ever happen for any motorcyclist. It is the absolute pinnacle. We had a two-stroke, which was the 315. I'd won the championship for 3 years. For a couple of years, 4 years I won it for, sorry. For the first 2 or 3 years, nobody got anywhere near me. Fuji beat me fair and square after that, and I was second. And then they announced no more two-strokes. And we got this machine. I'm not sure I can call it a motorbike. It was called a Montesa 4 RT, and it could not pull the skin off a rice pudding. The honest answer to the question is, if they had not produced that 4 RT, either myself or Fujinami would have won for the next 2 years. I'm going to probably say that Fuji had more chance of making that happen, but it was either me or him. That's my honest answer to it. The bike, it was brand new. It was no good. I was sick when we got it. On the first test, Fuji was crying in the back of the van.
Seriously?
Because he knew he'd won the championship in September, and in October we were testing a bike that he knew he could never win on.
For people that aren't familiar with trials bikes, most of the people are riding 300cc two-strokes, and it's all about full gas, drop the clutch, jump over things.
Yeah, a lot of torque, very low top speed and things like that, but that four-stroke, it had no power, no clutch, and it was heavy. It had everything that he didn't want. To be fair, the development of it was incredibly quick. And in 2 years, it was done. And then we handed it to Tony Bow, and he just spanked everybody until now.
He is just another
next level.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, he's getting on a bit as well now, and but he's still winning championships.
I think he's got 2 more years contract. I would imagine that's it. If his body's deteriorating quite a bit, but he will lose when he decides. Nobody's close enough to him.
So one final question, and thank you so much for doing this. We talked to a lot of mainly trail riders, adventure bike riders. You got any tips for riding better off-road?
I do a bit of sort of green laning. I've done a few videos. I've just come back from Scotland actually doing something with the Motorcycle News, which was really good. I'm on a Royal Enfield Himalayan at the minute, and I've obviously moved the handlebars forward a little bit and a few bits like that because I'm a trials rider. But yeah, I think you can just try and go too fast off when you're off-road. I think you just need to find a nice constant throttle along the tracks. You keep the suspension nice and stable, keep your body position in a nice spot. I think if you're trying to roll off and dive on and off the clutch and the brakes, then you're just going to get thrown off. The tyres are generally for a little bit of off-road, but they're not for a sort of extreme road. They are road tyres for the noise and everything. But yeah, that's my main thing really. I think you can just push it too hard and get a little bit too confident, and next minute the collarbone's gone and your mates are riding off on their own, and that's the end of the day. I know a bloke who did that not so long ago at the Dakar.
It wasn't the Dakar. I was following some Dakar tracks.
That's the thing. Yeah, don't get too carried away too early.
Excellent. Dougie, thanks a million for doing this.
No problem
really
at all.
Appreciate
Anytime.
it. And I'm going to stick around, and hopefully it won't rain and you won't fall off on them bloody high boxes that you've built with
Let's hope so. Thank you.
Well, what an absolute treat that was. A massive thanks again to the Greggs Foundation, to Ambleside Rugby Club, Brownie and Red Bull, and especially Dougie, obviously. Sometimes you absolutely should meet your heroes. Oh, incidentally, it did rain and he did fall off, but not before entertaining the crowd. Right, till next time, cheers. Thanks for listening. We really do appreciate it. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and if you really appreciate what we do, please consider supporting us on either Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee. Links are available on our website, tampodcast.com, where you can also go to our store, that's a shop in English, and buy some branded stuff. Please keep listening and, more importantly, spreading the word. Right, that's it. Just a final word from one of our sponsors, and we'll see you next time. Are you heading out on an adventure? Whether you're tackling the Tet or hitting the green lanes, don't forget to pack the Pits and Bits Towel Off Body and Hair Wash range. It's the ultimate waterless wash. Just pour it on, Rub it into a foam and towel it off. That's it. No water, no rinsing, no fuss. It's lightweight, smells amazing, and most importantly, it gets rid of mud, sweat, and odours fast. Perfect for when you're off the beaten track. Stay fresh, go further, and do it all sustainably. Grab yours now at pitsandbits.co.uk, and don't forget to use the code TAMP at checkout for a massive 20% off.